I'm Josh Allen, and welcome to the Baked In Podcast, where I sit down with the industry innovators to uncover the unique ideas and values that are baked into their businesses and have led to extraordinary success. This podcast is presented by Busey Bank. As both my business and personal bank since 2007, I am super appreciative of their support, which really falls right in line with how they approach business. The idea of delivering the customer experience of a smaller community bank with all of the efficiencies, products, technology, and resources of the nation's largest banks. I think they pull it off with a great team with a strong dedication to their customers and their community. Busey Bank, building business, growing wealth since 1868. This week's guest is Lisa Nichols, CEO of Technology Partners, host of the Something Extra podcast, and now author of the newly released book by the same name. For over 30 years, Lisa has led with purpose, building one of the most respected IT staffing and solutions firms in the Midwest, all while championing culture, transparency, and mutual wins. In this episode, we sit down for a candid conversation about what it really takes to grow a company with heart. We'll explore the lessons Lisa has learned from hundreds of podcast interviews, how she's nurturing the next generation of tech leaders, and why she believes your growth quotient, your GQ, is just as important as your IQ or EQ. We'll also dive into her new book, Something Extra, and the character traits she believes define transformational leadership. Let's go. I think it was either an interview or a podcast that you did where you talked about GQ, growth quotient.
Yes.
And I just find it fascinating. Like I have always tried to hire and think about EQ, the emotional quotient, and sort of what people bring to culture and to business, but I never thought about it in terms of growth. And certainly, as a small business owner, we're, I think, a year older than you. So I opened the business in 93.
Okay.
And you opened in 94, right?
Yes, we did.
There are people that have been tremendous assets and wonderful people, from 0 to 1 million, and then they didn't want to get any bigger or couldn't get any bigger, and from 1 to 3 and 3 to 7 and 7 to 15 and 15 to 25. Like you go through the growth stages of business, and certain people just, they don't have the GQ. So how do you look for it, or how do you think about it when you're bringing somebody new into your organization that's obviously continuing to scale and grow?
Mm-hmm. Well, I typically ask that question. How do you personally grow? How do you professionally grow? Do you read? Do you listen to podcasts? For me, and one of the reasons I love the podcasting world, Josh, is because I feel like I have grown and learned so much from other people. My whole career, I've networked and I've met with people, and I love the mentoring, mentee aspect. And so asking them that question, but the people that are curious, like, what have you done in your career? I mean, have you just, and I get it. I mean, people are all different, right? So there are people that just want to stay in their lane and do one thing, but you kind of look for those people that have tried other things, a lot of different things, and said yes, raised their hand. Yeah, I'll try that.
Do you think
I've
people
got courage?
Can they identify it in themselves?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I was telling somebody last night. I said, if I ever stop growing, just go ahead and put me in my coffin and in the ground. Really, because goodness gracious, how boring would life be?
Have you experienced the same thing that I have, where great people just don't, they're not ready for, interested in whatever that sort of next phase.
They like the land of the comfortable.
Right. And it's not even a negative. Like
no, it's okay.
Right.
It's all right. You just realizing that you have different types of people. But there are people that really, we say this all the time, and with technology, the one constant is change.
Sure.
Technology.
It's the same in baking.
The shelf life is, 3 years at best for a technology. And so you've really got to be adaptable and make sure that you're able to do that. But there are some people that just they resist change, and they like to just stay comfortable, and that's okay.
Yeah, and I think the mistake that I've made too many times is trying to force folks into the next phase. Force them to grow.
Absolutely.
If they're not interested in it.
I feel like as a leader, though, that we can model it how we are growing. I mean, right now, like the buzz, as you know, probably in technology is AI.
Right.
And when they see the leader embracing new things, right, that gives them then possibly the courage or the permission to try new things too. So
from a business standpoint, so for those that don't know what you do, can you give me the elevator pitch?
Absolutely.
In terms of, I mean, it's technology partners.
Technology partners.
Which means what?
We do all things IT, information technology. So I'll just really break it down very simply. We've got 3 pillars in the company. The first one is IT staffing. So if you need a software engineer, or if you need a software architect, or if you need a network engineer, we can go find those people for organizations. So the staffing is the first pillar. The second pillar is solutions. And this is where we would take on whole projects. So think about companies that have systems that are really legacy systems and they need to be modernized. Sometimes instead of them doing that internally, they're like, we've got this system over here. We need to keep the current one going. And we'll keep that one going, but then we need to modernize, and they can outsource that to us, the whole project. So we would manage the whole thing cradle to grave at that point. Lots of data analytics and AI road mapping now. So we have a DAI practice that does that. Never before have we had as much data as we have now.
Sure.
In fact, the adage out there is data is the oil of the organization, right? So every company, every organization is dealing with that. We're collecting data from sensors and IoT on machines, all of this stuff. But then if you don't have a data strategy, if you don't have data governance, it's just data.
Right. What are you going to do with it?
What are you going to do with it, right? And so what makes it valuable is when you can figure out, well, what is the data that we really need? And then bolt on maybe some AI tools on top of that to drive insights and
particular
dashboards.
Industries that you focus on there, or really any industry?
Any industry.
Okay.
Truly. Not baking, by the
Yes.
way, but
Yeah.
but maybe at some point. No. Goodness gracious, we do a lot in ag with Bayer, a lot of fintech. MasterCard's been a client of ours for 28 or 29 of our 31 years in business. Enterprise rent-a-car, retail, CPG companies, really manufacturing, huge. So
all over the country, right? I mean,
all over the country, trying to expand even more. We're doing some things in Atlanta, doing some things in Texas, doing some things in Kansas City. Continuing to expand our that's one of our growth strategies for the next 10 years or so, is really to get the brand out there nationwide, maybe internationally.
Right. What's the third pillar? We got staffing, we got solutions.
The third pillar is leadership development.
Okay.
And so this is not generic leadership development. This is leadership development as it pertains to technologists.
So this is external leadership development. So this is something that you're selling or offering?
Right. We're offering as a value add to our clients. Yes. We purchased a company in 2024. That's all they do, the human side of technology. So we're not teaching people how to program in Python or how to program in Java. It's really the human side. What are the skills that you need? What are the competencies that you need to lead a team? And I suspect this is really true in other industries as well, but very common in technology, where you take your best software architect, your smartest person, say, okay, now Josh, you're so good at this, we're going to let you lead a team.
Sure.
And the person's like,
the same thing in the baking industry.
Yeah.
The best guy on the oven, and he's running the shift all the time.
But then that person has never been trained how to lead people, right? I think the average age in technology that someone starts being a leader is 27.
Okay.
But traditionally, they do not get any kind of leadership training until they're 41. That's a pretty big gap, right? So we're closing that gap.
I mean, were you guys doing that sort of as just part of what you were doing, and then you realized you needed to really
leadership? Leadership has always been a huge, really teaching people how to be better leaders has always been a huge part of what we've done. The podcast that I started in 2018 is really a leadership podcast. I invite leaders onto the podcast and we talk about their leadership journey. What are the things that have helped them be successful? What are those traits that they look for when they're hiring? That's the whole purpose of the Something Extra.
Right.
And I've spoken on leadership for years. And so when in 2019, we started piloting what we call the technology leadership experience. In fact, we just kicked off our 15th cohort last night. That's where I was last night. And we started piloting with a company out of New Hampshire that had done this for 40 years. They call it the human side of technology. We started piloting here in St. Louis. They've done it everywhere, but we started piloting it here in St. Louis, and it took off so well. We've graduated probably by now, maybe 350 people.
How long is the program?
9 months. It's a 9-month program. 9-month program. And so, it worked so well. And the CEO of that company is like, we're doing this all over the country. And nobody has done as many or graduated as many people as you guys have in St. Louis. And so in 2018, we started talking about what would it look like for us to be under the same umbrella. And we acquired them in January 2024.
Sounds like you're enjoying that part of the business.
It's fun. Yeah, it really is. It's fun. It was a huge buzz in our office last night because we were kicking off. And what we've really done with this, because technology people are not great at networking. They're not great at doing that, but we all know it's so critical. So we had 4 CIOs that I moderated on a panel last night. And just like one of them, the CIO for BJC is Jerry Fox. And he's like, I have never applied for a job. I've never once sent a resume and applied for a job. He said, every job I've got has been through my network.
Right.
So it's so important, right? And so we really, with this program, what we've done is we've really tried to curate a network for the technologists, because that's not typically something that they just naturally do. And so last night it was so much fun because we've got this new group, this new cohort that's kicking off. But then we invited all the alumni that's been in the program. We invited past mentors, current mentors, sponsors. So it's just really fun.
And you've been a big advocate for getting more women into tech.
Yes. Yes.
How is that going, and how does it need to continue to change? I mean, of the cohort, what was the mix?
What was the breakout?
Yeah. The mix?
Probably half and half.
Oh, it was
half and half. Yeah. And we've even
is that continuing to evolve, or did it start? Were you able to make it half and half from the get go?
We've been able to make it half and half from the get go.
Okay.
And what I have done, we've made great strides with that. We have made great strides, but we still got a long way to go.
So what's working? Like what is working in terms of getting more women?
I think what's working is women that are already in tech putting themselves out there and speaking to younger groups. I mean, I love like the STEM programs that are happening in some of the middle schools. But, there's a famous quote, and I'm probably going to misquote this, but I think it's Madeline Earhart, I believe it is. And I could be wrong on that. So forgive me if that's not the right person that coined this, but she said, you can't be what you can't see.
Right.
You can't be what you can't see. So just encouraging. And one of the things that we have done, because we've had companies, Bear is one of them, that had asked us specifically, would you do a women only Tech LX? And so we've done several of those. We've got a couple of those cohorts running right now, not in St. Louis, but in
So when you say
parts.
that a lot more needs to be done or a lot more can change,
Mm-hmm.
what is it that you'd like to see more of?
Well, I feel like we need to start earlier, really, even in elementary school, really teaching girls that, hey, you can be good at math, because a lot of times that's what happens, Josh. They think, a girl thinks, I'm not that good at math, right? So I can never do IT. But there's so many things that you can do with IT.
Right.
I mean, like the data analysis and data analytics and this sort of thing. I mean, it doesn't require a ton of math, right? And looking for insights, being a liaison between the business and IT. We call those business analysts. there's other things that you can do. It doesn't mean that you have to sit there and code. There's all kinds of things that you can do in technology that doesn't require that. So I think just really teaching girls at an earlier age that you can do this and giving them the courage and the confidence to try.
So what are these, I'm going to call them kids. I guess we get to say that, right?
Right.
What are these kids that are coming out of the leadership program? What skills do they have, and where are they going?
Right. Well, one of the big things is confidence. We focus, especially on the women cohort, we focus on confidence because that's one of the things that research says that women typically, sometimes are not as confident in their own abilities and belief in themselves. The other thing that has to happen too, I will say, is there's a difference between being a sponsor and a mentor. So a mentor is just a person that like coaches you and that sort of thing. A sponsor is a person in an organization that will talk about you when you're not in the room,
right?
In a good way, in a good way,
Sure.
right? So we need more people to step up and say, hey, I'm going to be a sponsor of a woman. But yeah, you asked me how these people, we get this consistently, that the people that come out of our program are showing up differently. They're just showing up differently. So there are 15 different competencies that we are teaching. And like I said, for women, we really do focus a lot on building confidence. But there's things like communication. How do you communicate up and down and across? And, because that's really important, right? How do you lead change? There's a right way and a wrong way to lead change. How do you lead change in an organization? That helps you be a better leader. And of course, with technology, like I said, the one constant is change.
Right.
You're going to have to lead change. And, how do you market? How do you market the value of IT? Because sometimes to the C-suite or to the board, sometimes the feeling is that IT is just an expense. It's a line item. Well, IT technology is driving the top line in many cases. So what is your value proposition? You've got to always be kind of selling the value because you're asking for a lot of money usually,
Sure, right.
in the budget.
So as you look back, 31 years ago, how many of those competencies do you feel like you had, and which ones have been the biggest struggle for you to develop over those years?
Oh my goodness, that's a really good question. So you're saying 30 years ago, which of those competencies do you think that I think I had?
Well, yeah, I'm asking. Obviously we all evolve as a leader, right? We all grow. I'm a completely different person if I looked back at myself.
Thank goodness I'm a completely different person, right?
But of the things that you're now teaching new leaders, what are the things that you feel like you struggled with the most or took the hardest to get over the hump? Or
Gosh, that is such a good question. I'm just, I'm wanting to be thoughtful about that. I think maybe I would say, because I've always been a communicator. Now, whether I'm a good communicator or not, who knows? You can always be a better communicator. Right. I love that quote that says, just because you've said it doesn't mean that communication has actually happened.
Right.
Right. So it could just be words, but, goodness, I think maybe I always had confidence, but maybe just I remember when I started, I was an accounting major and started in internal audit and accounting at McDonnell Douglas, and I worked with some really smart people, Josh, really smart people. That at times it's like, wow, I'm not sure, if I can really do this or not. And, but fortunately I had great mentors. I never had a woman mentor. I always had men mentors, back then, but, maybe struggled a little bit with confidence, but just because of my youth,
right.
And thinking, I'm just not as experienced, or, worked with some really smart people, but I think too, and this is the point of something extra, we've all been given unique talents and unique skills and gifts, right? And so I think as I've gotten older, I realize who I am. I know who I am, and I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm not good at, right?
Yeah, and I think that I kind of if I heard what you said, the way that I would interpret it, because it was an issue that I maybe still struggle with, is that whole imposter syndrome, right?
Yes,
like, am I in a room that I'm not capable of being in? But in many respects, it's a blessing and a curse, right? So the blessing is that's where the curiosity comes from.
Yes,
like,
right.
What do I need to do differently to be in this room?
Right.
What changes do I need to make? What do I need to learn? How do I need to evolve so that when I'm with Lisa, who intimidates me a little bit, or I don't have as much confidence in that environment, what do I need to do to grow and get there? And so, I mean, I guess all of those traits tend to be both of those things,
right.
but it's certainly something that even today, depending on who the customer is that I'm calling on, or who the bank is that I'm talking to, or somebody
right.
who feels that just seems more knowledgeable about understanding a balance sheet or something,
Yes.
I think that never sort of goes
It
away.
never goes away. It never
only
goes
because
away.
we continue to be curious about
Right.
putting ourselves in a situation,
right.
Yeah,
and I think too, Josh, the other thing is being humble and getting to that point where you realize I'm not supposed to know everything. And it's okay.
Right.
I don't know everything. In fact, I think that's a tenet of a really good leader, to have that self-awareness, to know where your weaknesses are. And then a tenet of a really good leader is say, okay, I'm going to surround myself with people that are better at balance sheets.
Right.
I'm going to surround myself.
Yeah, I mean, there's a T.S.
Right.
Eliot quote. If you aren't in over your head, how do you know how tall you are?
Yeah,
So
that's a good
sort of
quote. I like that.
That's
I
sort
like
of
that.
how I like to lead.
Yeah, I like that.
Move forward. Let's. I'm excited to introduce a new partner for the show, the Normal brand, proudly based right here in St. Louis. If you caught episode 67, you heard my conversation with co-founder Jimmy Sansone. Great guy, great story, and a brand that truly reflects Midwestern values and style. Now, as a baker, business owner, and podcast host, I spend my days bouncing between flower-covered aprons, Zoom calls, and great conversation. I need clothes that can keep up, and maybe even look like I might have my life together. The Normal brand delivers. Their vintage thermal Henleys, cozy sweaters, and sharp button-downs are staples in my dad-inspired closet, and date night approved. And because they're awesome, they're giving you 15% off one purchase of regularly priced clothing. Just use the code BAKEDIN at checkout. Head to thenormalbrand.com and find your new favorite look. Let's move a little bit towards maybe growth and culture, because I'm interested in, obviously you've now built a business with, you mentioned before we started that you've got 450 employees. I mean, that's a big organization. Is there a value that you have refused to compromise on through this whole growth thing that
Absolutely.
that's
Integrity.
Integrity.
Right. We've walked away from business because that particular organization didn't align with our values. And integrity, we're not going to cut corners. We're not. I mean, I'll give you a really good example in the IT staffing world. And this used to happen a lot. Hopefully it doesn't happen anymore, but what used to happen in the IT staffing world is, possibly you're working with an organization and they give you a JD, they give you a job description of something, a person, a talent that they need, right? And you're working with them. So you're putting people in the front door, but then maybe there's Josh Allen over here that is an amazing software architect. And Josh is like, I really want to work for you. You pull people out the back door. But contractually, there's non-solicitation rules.
Right.
We have never done that. And we have people all the time that coming to us from our clients, truthfully, and saying, I'm really looking to make a change. I would really love to work for Technology Partners. We're like, sorry, we can't work with you. Now the only caveat to that is if you go to your manager, which usually people don't want to do, right? If you go to your manager and say, listen, I am wanting to explore other things and I would like the permission to work with Technology Partners, we'll talk to you then. But that's just one example, and it used to happen all the time with companies. We've never, ever done that.
Right.
Where we've been working on the front side of placing people and then poaching the people on the back side. It's just not right. So that's just one example. And then, like I said, we've walked away from business where we felt like that organization really did not align with our values. So...
Which is hard to do sometimes.
It is hard to do.
Especially depending on how big the opportunity is.
Exactly. Yeah. It's really prioritizing, though, really understanding and keeping front and center what's most important. Right. And I want to be able to lay my head on the pillow at night. And the other thing is, too, when you...
It's hard enough to sleep as it is.
It's hard enough to sleep. Exactly. Because you've got a million things you got going, right? When you're a business owner. So, but that's just one example, I would say.
So you're obviously continuing to grow and move forward. You're over 30 years old as a business. What's kind of guiding your growth strategy today? And is that different than it was 10 or 20 years ago, or is that trajectory still been the same? No,
it's definitely different because, like I said, when we started 30 years ago, we were staffing only, right? And about 15 or 16 years ago, I guess it was, MasterCard. We've worked with MasterCard for probably 28 or 29 of our 31 years in business, and MasterCard approached us and said, hey, we're really trying to figure out how we can get more work done, and we're wanting to be able to outsource more, and we would like for you guys to be one of those partners. That's what was the impetus for us starting Solutions, where we could handle whole projects. Now, as we kind of look into the future, geographic expansion is really on our radar. That is that's one of the things that we're really hoping with the leadership, because the leadership company that we purchased is 40 years old, and they have been doing leadership development across the country. So that strategically, we're doing leadership across the country, but we're hoping too that those relationships will open up into possibly some solutions.
Is staffing and solutions based businesses generally regional, and there or is there competition that's
there's competition
national?
Oh, there's competition. Yes, there's competition, and there's big, what I would kind of consider big box organizations that are doing it at scale. And there's always competition. I don't know what it is today. Probably 15 years ago, I know because I did a lot of research on this, there's about 9,000 firms like ours in the United States.
So what makes you guys special?
Oh, goodness.
I mean, if you say that, what's the secret sauce, right? Or what's the something extra? I guess we'll do it.
What's the something extra? Well, our culture, for one thing. We're very, very intentional about our culture. And really it boils down to the people. It boils down to the people that you have, Josh. And I'm really, really proud of our people. When we started the company 31 years ago, Greg and I had a goal, and that was to create mutual wins for everybody. Certainly mutual wins for our employees, a win for our employees, our consultants, our clients. And then we said, if we treat our employees well, and if we care for them and attract the best and the brightest, they're going to take care of our clients, and then our success will follow. And that has been that has played out to be true. And we very intentional about taking care of our employees. I'll just give you example, and I don't mean to be braggadocious here, but I am very proud.
I think if you're talking about how you take care of your people, you can say it. Like, I know. I'm a fan of bragging about that. So
yeah. So it is not meant to be braggadocious, but I will brag on our people. For 11 years now, we have had an outside firm measure our NPS, our Net Promoter Score. And for any listeners that may not know what that is, it's a metric, it's a data point, right? It's not the only thing, but it's a data point at least to kind of let you know, are you on the right track or not, right?
And it's the question 0 to 10. How much you would be willing to recommend.
The promoter is a 9 to 10 that they would rate you. A detractor is 6 and under. Right. And then I think like the 8 and the 7 are just kind of neutral, right? We've consistently been higher than the average in this Net Promoter Score, but we just got our Net Promoter Score 2 weeks ago. We just got the data back. Josh, unbelievable.
That's awesome.
We have an NPS of 100.
Really?
Isn't that, I
didn't know that was even possible, to be honest with you.
It means we had no detractors.
Right.
And so.
Now, do you do the ENPS? Do you do the employee Net Promoter Score?
We do both.
You do both?
We do both. And I was blown away by that. I think our industry average is 50. And so for us to get 100.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an 80, you're world class.
Oh, yeah, you're world class at 80. Yes. Yeah. In our industry, it's 70. You're world class at 70.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So, you mentioned the intentionality of that. What does that look like in practice, and how do you do that? I mean, employee 10 is different than employee 450. So, how have you continued to do that? What does that look like in practice?
Well, and let's just say the larger you get, the harder it is.
Right.
It's
absolutely.
more complex, right? It's definitely more complex. Well, I mean, our core values are the same as we have not wavered on our core values. Our core values follow the acrostic delight, and we want delighted clients. We don't want just happy clients. We want them to be delighted, right? So our core values are on our wall, but when we hire, we're hiring and looking for those core values in the people that we hire. It's so important to make sure you have the right people on the bus. And I would just say, I'm so proud. We've got our people that are leading our various function areas and stuff are just best in class people. And, the people underneath them, they're leading in a way that just inspires people to be their best version of themselves. And we really do prioritize the people. We care about our people. We pay our people really well. We do. I mean, that means that we've got to work more on volume.
Sure.
So we pay them really well, and we treat them.
Any particular unconventional benefits? I mean, any like things that you guys do that other people aren't doing? People love hearing about. I mean, I love hearing about sort of the impractical or the crazy things that folks do.
Yeah, probably not. Our benefits are pretty standard. We have been talking to somebody about possibly adoption benefits, like being able to help our employees that want to adopt.
Sure. Because
Greg and I both have hearts for children that maybe are underserved. We have hearts for that. One of our core values, so delight is acrostic, right? So the H in delight is help others. And we do a lot in the community. We believe that to whom much is given, much is required. And I think our people love that. They love that we're giving back, but we give back not just financially. We have a formula that we follow every year to say, okay, here's our bucket of money that we're going to give so financially, but then also we do volunteer days. So we just volunteered, our team volunteered at the food bank and packaging up food and potatoes and rice and this, and our people love that. They love.
Do they participate in the directing of any of those funds?
We have a committee.
Okay.
We have a committee, right? Yeah. Years ago, goodness, I can't even remember how many years ago we came up with this, but in the beginning we're like, okay, yeah, we'll give to that. And then finally we're like, we need to be a little bit more structured, if you will, because absolutely. We can't give to everything, right?
No, and then you can make a bigger impact with.
You can make a bigger impact, right? So we came up with 3 pillars that really drive our community, our corporate social responsibility. It's called LIFT. See, you can see this.
You like
with
the acronyms.
I do. I like the acronyms. I do. It's called LIFT because we're lifting others up, but it's lives impacted, futures transformed is what it stands for. And we came up with 3 pillars. So the first pillar is meeting basic needs. So things like the food bank definitely falls under that pillar, right? We've done Habitat for Humanity. The team loved that, getting to build homes for people. The Little Bit Foundation, I don't know if you're familiar with them. Oh, such a wonderful organization. Really helping children thrive at school. Maybe they need glasses, right? And Little Bit will come along and provide glasses to the children. So that's like meeting basic needs. And then the second pillar is promoting education. I believe education is key, to breaking cycles of poverty and things like that. So we're big on promoting education, and especially STEM,
Right.
obviously. But Marion Middle School, for instance, we love Marion Middle School. And what Mayor Elizabeth Grimes is doing with Marion is just phenomenal. So, that would be promoting education. And then the third pillar is supporting economic development. So we've done things like I sat on the Missouri Technology Corporation Board for 5 years. I sat on the Governor's Innovation Task Force. We do a lot in not a lot, but we do some things in Cortex, right? Okay. Anytime that I can go and speak, to a group of entrepreneurs, that sort of thing. So those are all GSL. We're part of Greater St. Louis. That is all falls under the economic development. How can we train people up, right. And give them a hand up rather than a handout. These are the kinds of things that we.
Well, and certainly supporting 450 lives, which really is a couple thousand when you expect,
Right. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Well, I would be remiss.
It's people.
I would be remiss to not talk about the book.
Oh yeah.
So because that just last month, right? October.
September the 30th. It dropped. Yeah, it was so fun. We did a big launch party in Chesterfield next to the factory, and it was just really surreal, just so much fun. Got
my copy here. So Something Extra, which is the same name of the podcast, right?
Yes, it is.
And it's all kind of been inspired by your daughter, Allie. And I mean, talk a little bit about it, and talk a little bit about. I mean, you mentioned at the beginning just the podcast kind of leading from curiosity, which is exactly why I'm sitting here talking to you today. I mean, right. It's certainly been the same, but you're 360 plus episodes in, so you're well ahead of me in this one. But talk a little bit about it, and a little bit about how the book came about.
Yeah. Well, I talk about this in the book, Josh, but when I was 7 years old, they gave me a little blue typewriter for Christmas. And I can remember, I've been a voracious reader since I was just young. I mean, I was reading books like this thick. I mean, I was an only child, so books really were my friends. And I loved to read, still do. I'm a voracious reader.
You can still find time?
I make the time. I make the time. I think it's really important. Leaders are readers, readers are leaders, right? So, I think it's really, in fact, I was just on a call for a friend in Tulsa on the way down here. And he told me, he goes, Lisa, you've got to get this book. I think it's Better Decisions, Fewer Regrets. He said, you've got to get this book. It's so, so good. So immediately, I shouldn't have done this, but on Amazon, I need a self-driving car. But anyway, I'm a big reader. But I can remember though, when my parents gave me that typewriter, I'd sit and try to come up with stories and things. But so Allie is our third child. She's our baby, but she's not a baby anymore. Mm-hmm. We've got 3 kids. We got Jordan, who's 33. He lives in Oregon, living his best life. Daughter Paige, who's 32, and then Allie is 30. And Allie was born with Down syndrome. Allie has been one of my biggest teachers. She teaches me something new every single day. And one of the things that Allie has really just reaffirmed, I guess, to me, and I've always loved people, but really it's all about people with her. And she loves people. We were just at an event last night for a friend that is going through some health issues. And she's just like, I love you so much. And she goes, I'm going to come give you a hug. And I mean, she just sees people for who they are as human beings. I've got great stories in the book about doing mission trips and to El Salvador and how she just treated the prisoners there. It was just really remarkable. Just lives life with joy. Her cup is half full all the time, except for like when she really needs Starbucks and I don't have time to get then she can get a little dicey at that point. She can get a little dicey, a little spicy.
We all have our caffeine.
We all have our caffeine moments. Yeah, she loves her Starbucks. But Allie, and I'll just tell you the story, Josh. In 2017, she's my little sidekick, and she's in the passenger seat, and we're driving along on this road, and there was roadkill on the side of the road, and where most people wouldn't even notice, oh, there's an animal on the side of the road. Allie cranks her neck, looks back, turns back to me, crocodile tears, and she's like, oh, that poor baby. And it was an epiphany for me, because I'm like, this child understands the sanctity of life so well. I mean, she's just so upset about this little animal losing its life. And unfortunately, the stats are 8 in 10 women that find out that they're having a child with Down syndrome, if they have the ability to abort. That's been the rule rather than the exception. And I really felt in my spirit, I'm a faith-filled woman, and I felt in my spirit, God was like, you got to tell your story, because you had all the same fears. And it's no judgment, Josh. It's no judgment, but it's the fear of the unknown.
Right.
Because you just don't know. We didn't know either. We were like, what's this going to mean? What is it going to mean for her? Or are we going to have a relationship with her? I can remember my husband, Greg, going, do you think we'll even have a relationship with her? Are you kidding? She's the most real. I mean, but we didn't know.
Right.
We didn't know. And I just see the joy that she has brought into the world. And I'm like, you got to tell your story, Lisa. You're on the other side. So, not knowing what I didn't know, I took a month sabbatical from work and started writing on the book. And of course, that just wasn't nearly long enough, right? Work gets busy. I put it on the shelf. And this last summer...
So this process started in 2017?
2017. I started on the book in 2017, but I put it on the shelf. And last summer, I told my husband, Greg, I said, I know I got to write that book. I've got to write the book. So hired a team. Okay, there's many ways to write a book.
Right.
Hired a team. Went with a publisher, and started writing the book last September, and then it launched this past September. So it took a year. I mean, it's a labor of love.
Each chapter, for lack of a better, my inability to say it, seems like a leadership trait, characteristic, vulnerability, courage.
Sacrifice, servant leadership, vision, just about adaptability. And,
and you pull a lot of the stories out from the podcast conversations that you've had. So.
Yes.
Well, it's really terrific. And I really enjoy, I haven't done them yet because I just finished the book, but the exercise, at the end of every chapter, there's a list of exercises to do, sort of a self-reflection.
And that was really important for me, because what I didn't want is people just flying through the book. I really wanted people to sit with each. Maybe I'm not as humble as I need to be. Let's sit here with these exercises and these reflection questions. I feel like that's where the hard work, that's where the transformation really comes from.
And that's where the value comes from, right?
The value. Yeah. So that was really, really important. This friend of mine that I was just talking to that lives in Tulsa, he's like, Lisa, now I just want you to know, in 2 weeks, he goes, I'm speaking to a group. I'm ripping off a bunch of stuff from the book. And I said, Paul, don't you know that is the highest compliment that you could give? Yeah, I said, it's good. But I'm really hoping. I've got another friend that just texted me a couple days ago, and she is part of a group that gets together, and I can't remember what it's called, but like, let's say 10 small business owners get together in a group once a month, and then they share and best practices. And how can I help you? How can I help you, Josh, in what you're trying to do right now? And they kind of almost like a mini mastermind, if you will. And she texted me a couple days ago and said, I just want you to know, and it was yesterday, she goes, I'm leading the group tomorrow, and I'm using the book. And that just, wow.
Yeah,
I'm just
great.
like, that's so cool. And I said, Deb, I need to talk to you afterwards, because I want to know what worked, what didn't work. Because I kind of see it that way too. It could be a part of a book club, or it could be part of a leadership curriculum at a school.
Right.
I mean, I wish I'd had a book like that, really, when I was starting out, to understand, hey, some of these traits that were really, really important and will make you an extraordinary leader.
Yeah, and I think that's the cool thing about the podcast is that whole experience and like you said, the little things that you're learning from all of these people. And I feel the same way about these. I can't tell you how many things I've taken back and instituted at the bakery or into leadership or into personal, just, and they weren't necessarily the highlight of the conversation, but it might have just been something that stuck with me that has been great. So
yes, I love that. And only pray that just some of the things that, I've shared with our team or the way that they see or the book, somebody reading the book, if you can change one person's life a little bit in the trajectory, maybe not their whole life,
right.
Josh, but maybe a day, you can change the trajectory of their day. It's like, my goodness, there's not a greater feeling than that and greater joy.
Well, congratulations on getting it out into the world, because I know obviously it was a long time coming. But,
it's a long time coming, and it's still going. It's still going.
Yeah. Well,
because
it's just getting started now.
It's just getting started. Yeah, it's just getting started. So thank you so much for asking about it, and thank you for reading it.
Well, thank you so much for your time this morning. It's great to meet you.
Yeah, it's great to meet you too. I can't wait. We'll see if we can collaborate on some things.
Absolutely. Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks.
Thanks so much for joining me today. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed sharing these insights from folks I truly admire. Be sure and follow the show in your favorite podcast player to be alerted to newly released episodes. And share a comment if you have any feedback or future contributor recommendations.